Hi, my name is Ben Comer.
And I'm Shelly Comer, and we're planting Capital City Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
In 2019, God began to speak to us about the idea of planting a new church somewhere. We didn't know exactly where that was going to be. After 23 years of pastoring and ministering in New Orleans, it was like, where would you send us that would have more need than New Orleans? Well, as we began to dig in and God began to speak to us about Baton Rouge and the needs that were here, there are obviously lots of unchurched people, but there are also church people that had been hurt in church, and that were no longer engaged in the Great Commission. They were no longer doing the things that they had done for so many years. And so God really began to burn us, and this is where he was sending us. And specifically, the mission of Capital City Church was going to be reaching imperfect people to follow a perfect Jesus. And in addition, God gave me Ephesians 4, verses 14 through 15 as a scripture to stand on, which says, "So they are no longer children tossed by the waves or carried about by the wind of doctrine, by human cunning, by craftiness in deceitful schemes, but rather speaking the truth in love, that we may grow up into him who is the head, into Christ." And with that, we were able to have the backbone and determination to say, hey, we're going to resign our jobs in New Orleans. We're going to sell our house during the middle of a pandemic and move in September of 2020 to Baton Rouge to get ready to plant Capital City Church on September 26, 2021.
You see, God had been talking to Ben for quite some time about this whole idea, and he came to me and said, hey, I feel like we need to go plant a church. And I was on board. I was excited and just ready to go. But I knew that if God was calling Ben, he was going to call me too. And so I cried for God to give me a scripture as well. One day I was reading the story about Paul on the road to Damascus. And when I got to the part of the story in Acts chapter 9 that talks about Ananias and how God spoke to him and said, get up and go to Straight Street, I knew that clear direction was from God for us to get up and go to our Straight Street. You see, Baton Rouge is a crucial hub of government and decision making and business in our state. And so with that, I felt like that was clear enough for me that he was sending us to Baton Rouge. And so when we moved into the neighborhood and we started to get settled in, God began to build relationships, and he brought relationships into our lives. We have a doctor, a professor, a refinery engineer, and all of these different areas of life, we had people that we were building relationships with. And I really felt like that was a strategic plan for God to bring us in and place us to where we can fulfill his Great Commission. And we hope to establish Capital City Church through Sunday services, small groups, and serve teams.
Over the course of Shelly and I's ministry, we've helped to plant 3 other ARC churches as the number 2 couple helping to make the plant happen. And in all those cases, we always traveled back to Birmingham to be able to study and learn and really get the best practices of what they were learning there. And so I can even remember years ago when Pastor Chris was still leading worship at the original high school whenever Church of the Highlands was planted, and he was there during all the setup, and I was amazed to see his commitment to make that happen. And then years later, when we visited the first multi-site, and Pastor Joshua Canizero was there, and seeing him and all the expansion and the vision of multi-site as well. So in all those cases, we even went back and we saw the videos from years ago, and it was such a wonderful walk down memory lane to see Pastor Chris laying out the basics of ARC planting. And we began to implement all of those with a weekly prayer meeting. We began to build a launch team. We began raising the budget, as well as looking for a launch location. But we're so also excited about all the relational connections. Even here in the Baton Rouge area, we've already connected with Pastor Scott and Vanessa Bledsoe, and they've been a huge blessing to us, encouraging us on our journey. So we're excited to see you all soon. Thank you so much. We're excited to learn more.